Hello. In the traditional motion picture story, the villains are usually defeated. The ending is a happy one. I can make no such promise for the picture you're about to watch. The story isn't over. You and the audience are part of the conflict.
We are no longer a Christian nation.
If we lose the Judeo-Christian framework, we're lost forever.
We do not consider ourselves a Christian nation.
Many other Americans have Muslims in their families or have lived in a Muslim majority country. I know because I am one of them. But my father came from a Kenyan family that includes generations of Muslims. I have known Islam on 3 continents. Islam is not part of the problem in combating violent extremism. It is an important part of promoting peace. As the Holy Quran tells us, the Holy Quran teaches that, the Holy Quran tells us, and the Holy Quran also says, since our founding, American Muslims have enriched the United States. Islam has always been a part of America's story. There is a mosque in every state in our union, and over 1,200 mosques within our borders.
You know, one of the points I want to make is that if you actually took the number of Muslims, Americans, we'd be one of the largest Muslim countries in the world.
Let there be no doubt, Islam is a part of America.
We are in great danger. Now, the American dream, I am convinced, was placed into the bosom of our founding fathers by Almighty God. America did not just happen. America was the gift of Almighty God. I am wondering about the America of tomorrow. I am wondering about the generation to come. I am thinking not only about my children, but I'm at the age now I'm thinking about my grandchildren and my children's children. What legacy are we going to leave? What is the America of tomorrow?
The president began what I've called an apology tour of going to various nations in the Middle East and criticizing America. I think they looked at that and saw weakness.
Nothing Governor Romney just said is true.
All too often the United States starts by dictating in the past on some of these issues, and we don't always know all the factors that are involved.
In America, there's a failure to appreciate Europe's leading role in the world. There have been times where America's shown arrogance and been dismissive, even derisive.
I would like to think that with my election and the early decisions that we've made, that you're starting to see some restoration of America's standing in the world.
We've at times been disengaged, and at times we've sought to dictate our terms. We have to acknowledge potentially we've made some mistakes. That's how we learn. Unfortunately, faced with an uncertain threat, our government made a series of hasty decisions. Though we've made our share of mistakes, required some course corrections. 9/11 was an enormous trauma to our country. But in some cases, it led us to act contrary to our traditions and our ideals.
Mr. President, the reason I call it an apology tour is because you went to the Middle East and you flew to Egypt and to Saudi Arabia and to Turkey and Iraq. And by the way, you skipped Israel, our closest friend in the region. But you went to the other nations. And by the way, they noticed that you skipped Israel. And then in those nations, and on Arabic TV, you said that America had been dismissive and derisive. You said that on occasion, America had dictated to other nations. Mr. President, America has not dictated to other nations. We have freed other nations from dictators.
No nation has ever had the victories that America's had, economically, militarily, socially, as this nation has had. But now today, we've lost the respect of other nations. We have ambivalence in our foreign policy. And the scream of the great American eagle has become the twitter of a frightened sparrow.
we do not consider ourselves a Christian nation.
What is the history of America? The revisionists have tried to take it away from us. On July the 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed. And remember that it was a declaration of independence, but it was also a declaration of dependence upon Almighty God. Remember how that declaration began? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are endowed by their Creator. Underscore that, by their Creator. They believed in creation. You can't even teach creation in public schools today. Endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. In 1778, James Madison, who is the architect of our federal Constitution, said this: "We have staked the whole future of American civilization not upon the power of government, far from it. We have staked the future upon the capacity of each and all of us to govern ourselves, to sustain ourselves according to the 10 commandments of God." That's the architect of the Constitution who said that. Now you can't even post the 10 commandments in classroom walls. December 1820, Daniel Webster said, and I quote, "Let us not forget the religious character of our origin. Our fathers brought hither their veneration for the Christian religion. They journeyed by its light, labored in its hope. They sought to incorporate and to infuse its influence through all their institutions, civil, political, and literary." They never thought of saying that we don't want God in our government. We don't want God in our education. On July the 4th, 1821, John Quincy Adams said, "The highest glory of this American Revolution was this: it connected in one indissoluble bond the principles of civil government with the principle of Christianity." Now, the revisionists of history don't want you to hear that. Our children are not being taught that in the public schools. Dads, you are to be teachers of history. President Andrew Jackson said, "The Bible is the rock upon which our republic rests." That's what he said. And early Americans knew this. March 1931, the United States Congress adopted the Star-Spangled Banner as our national anthem. You know what the 4th stanza says: "Praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause it is just, and this be our motto." You finish it. "In God is our trust." That, friend, is our national anthem. In 1952, the Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas said, "We are a religious people, and our institutions presuppose a supreme being." That is built in. We hold these truths to be self-evident. June 1954, Congress adopted the phrase "under God" to be added to the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then in July 1956, by joint resolution, Congress adopted the bill providing that the national motto of the United States is, "In God we trust." In our national hymn, the anthem says, "Bless with victory and peace. May the heaven-rescued land praise the power that has made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause it is just, and this be our motto. In God is our trust." And the national hymn, our Father's God, to thee, author of liberty, to thee we sing. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might. Listen to this. Great God, our King. Never say America doesn't have a king. We have a president we can vote in and out, but we have a king we can't vote in and can't vote out. And we can deny him and turn our back on him if we are foolish enough to do this. Our fathers rightly believed, rightly understood in the separation of church and state, that is, they have no national denomination, but they never believed in the separation of God and government. On April the 30th, George Washington in his inaugural address said this, quote, "My fervent supplications to that almighty being who rules over the universe, who presides in the council of nations, and whose providential aids can supply every human defect." George Washington said, without God, it won't be done. We need God in America again.
And after George Washington took his oath of office with his hand on the Holy Bible, he kissed the Bible. I wonder what the ACLU would say about that. Oh, by the way, do you know the first thing he did, his first official act? Do you know what the first official act of the first president was? He took the entire Congress, the Senate and the House, to church, every one of them. For 2 hours, they went to church and worshiped. What about America of tomorrow? What will it be like if we fail to turn to God? What will it be like if this generation does not say enough is enough?
Let me speak as clearly and as plainly as I can. America is not and never will be at war with Islam.